In a previous video, we discussed in detail the pleasure trap and how we get trapped in empty pleasures, such as, for instance, porn addiction or food addiction, or just like empty entertainment, like watching TV shows or things like that, and they just don't add any value to your life. They take from you more than they give. They take more time from you, they take more energy from you, they take more of your life force than they give you life force. Okay, so refer to that video. I think it was the video before this one. Okay, and what I forgot to talk about, I wanted to talk about it in that video, but maybe it's better that it has its own video, is the liberation process. How do we liberate ourselves from our addictions? How do we liberate ourselves from those empty pleasures that we're addicted to, these traps? We think these empty pleasures are going to get us happiness, and they don't, and we feel empty. We feel depleted after. Our life force is depleted. And we want liberation. We want out. And every single time you think you're out, just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. You feel like you're sucked back in again. You're pulled back in again. How do you liberate yourself? Well, I got 2 words for you here, my friend. Discipline. 3. Discipline equals freedom. That's the title of a book by this, I believe is a Navy SEAL, an ex-Navy SEAL or a Navy SEAL. Maybe he's still there. Jack something, his name. I think it's the title of his book, right? Discipline equals freedom. That's the 3 words. That's the 3 magic words here, my friends. Discipline equals freedom. The only way to liberate yourself from these things is to exercise your free will, your free-willed agent. Exercise your free will to liberate yourself from these pleasure traps, from these addictive traps. They're not going to bring you any happiness. In fact, they are taking away from your happiness. True happiness is contentment. True happiness is gratitude. True happiness is love. True happiness is acceptance. True happiness is kindness and giving. That's true happiness. Everything else is a complete mirage, is a complete illusion. A complete illusion. You think that chunky bar is going to make you happy? Think again. Think again. You think that Big Mac is going to make you happy? Think again. Think again. If it's taking more from you than it's giving you, it's not. And you're a slave to it. You're a slave. How do you liberate yourself from these extremely addictive patterns? Discipline equals freedom. It means you have to fight your lower self with your higher self. What you do when you discipline yourself is you exercise the will of your higher self to overcome the will of your lower self. Your lower self is an idiot. It doesn't know what it's good for it. It just seeks short-term, temporary gratification that usually actually sucks the life out of your long-term satisfaction. Your higher self is wisdom. Your lower self is sensory pleasure. Higher self, wisdom. Lower self, sensory pleasure. Okay, if you're addicted to porn, for instance, all you want, your genitals just want temporary pleasure. That's it. If you're addicted to food, same thing. Your belly, your belly, and I guess the dumb part of your brain, just they want this sensory gratification. Yummy, it tastes so good, smells so good, makes me feel good in the moment. YOLO, hedonism. You only live once. Hedonism, just live for the moment, baby. Live for the moment. No, because there's consequences. Because karma is just karma. It's such a neutral law in the universe. It doesn't care. It's so ruthless. It's like, well, you eat this, that's gonna happen to you. Well, you release your seed, you release your semen, that's gonna happen. You're gonna be depleted from life force because you just depleted your life force. Okay, so yeah, really, how do you do that? You use the higher self, which is the wisdom. Really, wisdom is higher self. Your higher self is very wise. The soul. See, there's the carnal body and there's the soul. Okay, and they're like married. They're like one being, but they're fighting. That constant fight, that constant like schizophrenia that we all have, is just like higher self like going on a boxing match with the lower self. Okay, just think of it like that. So higher self accepts the lower self, but it is like also pretty disciplined. Says, nope, I'm not going to harm myself anymore. I'm not going to degrade myself anymore. I will do these things and I will not do these things. So discipline is what's going to give you freedom. Exercise that wisdom, exercise, and you have to understand, he who has a why can bear with any how. You have to understand your why by understanding what's going on. If let's say you're addicted to food, particularly certain foods, right? Say addicted to pizza. That's your junk food. With your higher self, you have to like really contemplate on this. Go into meditation and contemplate on this, or journal this, and be like, this is why I'm not going to do this anymore. Because whenever I engage in it, I think it's going to make me happy, and then I end up being miserable, and I end up being exhausted, and I end up being tired, and I end up being caught in a cycle of desire. I keep desiring things. After I eat sweet things, I go for salty things, and after I eat salty things, I go for sweet things, and I feel like a prisoner. You're a prisoner to these pleasure traps. And the only way out is to be disciplined, to use the higher will to overcome the lower will. Because they're all different wills. One will wants to be like, let's go and eat, let's go, come on, chunky bars, let's go, pizza, let's go. Higher will says, no, with wisdom, I see that this is harming me, this is actually sucking happiness away from me, not giving me happiness. You have to know your why. You have to know why you're doing certain things. You have to know why. And if you know he who has a why can bear it anyhow, then you'll bear it anyhow. And magical things happen when you begin to discipline yourself. You develop this discipline muscle, and then you feel unstoppable. You feel like, if I put my mind to anything, I can do it. You can self-restrain yourself from anything. You can fast. You can exercise. You can get things done. Because you begin to develop this discipline muscle. And after some time, these addictions just fall away. They get so embarrassed. They just fall away. They fall away. And even if you fall back into them, you have developed the discipline. You can just kind of pick yourself right back up pretty quickly. Okay? So that's it, friends. I wanted to, this was supposed to be part of the last video, but I forgot to, I forgot to say it. So there's a separate video for it. Discipline, just keep that in mind, right? You can use it as a mantra. Discipline equals freedom. Okay, discipline equals freedom. You want to be free. It seems so paradoxical. Like, oh my God, I'm self-restraining myself. I don't have the freedom. Your lower self, your lower desires, the ones that are lacking in wisdom. That's why they're called lower, just simply because they lack wisdom. Your lower desire wants to blow its load. He wants to blow his load. He doesn't know. He doesn't know that he's blowing his life force away. Your lower self wants to, gorge herself in pizza. It's not thinking about the consequences. It's not seeing that this, like, you're digging yourself, like, you're gonna have like diabetes and things like that. It doesn't have wisdom. Your higher self has wisdom. Okay? So self-restraint does lead to freedom. The freedom to be the best self. Simple as that. To be your best self. To be a servant of God in this life. You want to serve God? You want to be the best? I mean, you're gonna be drained out of energy if you're masturbating and you're eating crap food. You're gonna be drained out of energy. You're not gonna be able to serve God. You're not gonna be able to do good things. You're not gonna be able to improve yourself, your family's well-being, and the well-being of others. No energy. Brain fog, constant brain fog, no energy. Constipation, etc., etc., etc. Do I need to go on now about the detrimental effects of some of these common pleasure traps that many humans are caught in? But you want to be free to do those things, to fulfill the purpose of why you came here to do. We all came here, we all have a divine purpose to us. We all have a divine thing. We all have there's a blueprint to each one of us. We came here to do something that only us can do. And if we want to serve, if we want to fulfill our purpose, our mission, we have to be free from these pleasure traps, from these addictions. And the only way to do that is by discipline. So keep that in mind. Use that as a mantra. Discipline equals freedom. And just don't do that thing. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Just put that pizza down. Just don't do it anymore. Just don't. Or you can work with this slowly, meaning you can say, I'm not doing this for a week. After a week, I'll reward myself. That's what I do right now. Okay, that's what I do. I go into these long periods where I'm just on a very light modality of consumption. Currently, I'm doing a coconut water fast. It's an open-ended. I'm 3 days in. I don't know how long it's gonna be for. Okay, but 3 days ago, I engaged in a big old feast of, you might want to call it, vegan junk food. Okay, we got a bunch of Indian food from this Indian restaurant that just opened recently here. We got some falafel burgers, some steamed potatoes with ketchup. I haven't had that kind of feast in so long, like at least 2 months, 3 months probably, like a long time. Okay, it's so long from my reference point. For someone else, like years, right? But for me, and I've been eating very cleanly in the last 2 to 3 months, very cleanly. The heaviest thing I would eat is a steamed potato. I was rewarding myself with steamed potatoes once a week. Then I would go on this like super clean diet. It'll be like just mostly coconut water, some bananas, some fruits, and like tiny handful of nuts. But then I would reward myself once a week by having steamed potatoes. And I said to myself, whoa, you've been doing so good lately. Let's go in a big feast. And I had the big feast. But because I've been rebuilding this discipline muscle, because I used to have this strong discipline back in the fitness days, like really strong. But now I'm rebuilding it again. I'm rediscovering it again. And I'm like, okay, I'm rebuilding it now. So now I jump right back in coconut water fast, open-ended. I wanted to reward myself. So you could work with that. You don't have to just quit things cold turkey right away. Okay, that's another very important thing. Okay, because it tends to be a more difficult path, and usually not very sustainable. I think it's more sustainable to set small goals and then reward yourself with those old pleasure traps and addictions. And when you do reward yourself, you realize why you even quit them in the first place. Like I think I talked about this in the previous video, but I felt a sense of emptiness after having that big feast. Like, oh man, this sucks. I see why I haven't had this in 3 months. Oh, I see why. I see why I don't want to do this. All right, okay, but I have the discipline now. I build it. Let's go. I'm gonna do an open-ended coconut water fast, and maybe in a month from now, I'll reward myself again. Okay, I'm trying to do coconut water fast for like close to a month now. We'll see if that works out. But if that does succeed, because that's pretty profound for me. If I can last for a month on just coconut water, I'm gonna reward myself with some of those old pleasure traps. And when I do, I'm gonna realize why, and I'm gonna push myself even more the next time. You build this muscle, you work with your pleasure traps, you work with your addictions, slowly, you set small goals, you accomplish them. Like, yeah, you building the discipline muscle, and eventually, over the long period, over the long term, you will be completely free of those pleasure traps, of those addictions. Okay? I love you guys. Thank you for watching. If you would like to donate to this channel, I accept anywhere from $2 to $2 million. We'll take it off your hands if you don't know what to do with it. I really appreciate it. Appreciate all the donations. If you want to book one-on-one consultations as well, the links for both are down below in the description. I will see you guys in the next video.